Hi everybody! Okay, welcome to February's Scrap School. It's February already, isn't that insane? Insane. I hope you are all doing fabulously with load. I am doing okay. I had to let go of the idea of incorporating, techniques or stories or the prompts and just kind of go with creating something every day, and I'm doing much better this year than I did last year or in October, because in October I was like epic failure. But so far, so good. It's the 14th. I've been able to post every day. Go me. All right, today we're going to focus on 3 different products. We're going to focus on tags, frames, and then I have a little tutorial for you addressing one of the questions I was asked in the circle group. So let's start with, I have 5 layouts to share with you that incorporate tags, and I'm going to show you some new ways to incorporate tags. Now, some of the layouts, I know for sure one of them is one that we've seen before in another layout flip, but hopefully we're going to look at another part of it. So one of the obvious ways we can use a tag is to add our journaling, right? So I have all of my journaling, it's condensed into this tag. You'll find when I scrapbook, if I'm gonna do journaling, if I'm gonna do writing, it has to be contained. I cannot just write on a background page. I have to have dedicated journaling space on my layout. That's just my personal opinion or my personal thing, right? So this, I had a story to tell. So we have our tag with our journaling here, and then behind it, I've tucked another tag. So I quite often enjoy having 2 tags tucked together, and then I also really like to staple them. I don't know why. It just adds a little, it's a stationary thing. I find that when I use tags, I quite often will also include staples on my layout. I just feel like they go together, right? So one way, easy way, layer up a couple of tags and use one to add your journaling. Next one, we can use tags to create a background. So this background uses tags of all different shapes and sizes. So basically what I have here was a die. I have a metal die from Catherine Pooler, and it cuts these tags in a whole set of nesting shapes. And these tags then allow me to take some scrap paper, cut a bunch of tags, layer them up on top of each other, and create a background with a shape. So this is a really great way to use up scraps of paper. Even if you've finished a layout, so you've totally finished with a collection or a kit, you have no more large sheets of paper, and you just want to get rid of your scraps, right? You just want to do something with your scraps so they're all handy. Die cut a whole bunch of tags and just kind of put them aside, because you can mix and match them. Like this yellow would probably work with more collections than just this. Again, with like the paper, some of these solid colors. So just something to think about. Tags can be a great way to use up some scraps. Tags are a great layering piece. You can kind of just pop them up. You can kind of pop them right here on your desk, and then as you work through your next scrapbooking project or your next scrapbooking layout, they'll be close at hand to grab. So a background is a really fun way to use tags. Then I have this one. This is that layout I was telling you about, where we talked about this. We kind of showed this layout last month, right? Because we had our collage over here. But if you look to the right, you will see that there are 3 tags tucked underneath. So a tag is a great element to tuck and layer, because you can pile stuff on top of it. That sounds like a real piling stuff on top of it, but you know what I mean. Like we can put embellishments or a date, anything on top of the tag, and you can still tell. Like if I kind of pull this in a bit, you can definitely still tell that this is a tag, right? Okay. Our next layout, this is a fun one. Okay, so there are a ton of tags in this layout. So let's talk about this. I want to take some time to really discuss and look at this layout because it can be, it's fun and it's different and it definitely helps. So this was one of my Maggie Holmes Monday layouts. What I did was I went through all of my Maggie Holmes stash and I pulled every tag that I could find. All the tags from all of the different collections. And then I layered them up. So they're all upside down. First of all, that's kind of cool. That's different. Tags do not have to be right way up. They can be any direction, any way you want them to be. So all of these tags are upside down. First kind of cool thing. Second thing, I filled all of the holes with this twine. So this is something I keep directly on my desk. This is hemp, it's twine. Like if you look at it, it's just twine really. But I got this at a cherry on top. I think it's so inexpensive. It's like $2.99 for a whole roll of it. But it's not called twine. So if you go to search for it, it's called hemp cord. It's not twine. It's not labeled as twine in their shop. But it's basically just twine. This is just for me, the finishing touch on a tag. I use it, once I discovered that kind of this hemp cord, I'll use it for almost every layout. There are other, kind of alternatives. You can just use embroidery thread. In fact, the layout I'm going to show you last for our 5th tag layout is a layout that has embroidery thread. But for this one, you can see how I just strung them through the holes and then I added a little bit of glue to the ends of the strings to keep them kind of suspended upside down, which was really cool. Now, let's talk a little bit about design and why this layout works. So the way for me, and this layout might not work for you, it works for me. One of the reasons it works for me is because when you're using a bunch of tags from the same manufacturer, from the same company, from the same designer, they're gonna kind of go together in style, right? So we all know Maggie Holmes has a distinct and definite style. So all of these tags from her collections will mix and match and play together well because the styles are very similar. Another reason they work, because the colors, again, because we're using something that's all from the same manufacturer, it's all run on the same paper using the same ink, collection to collection. They don't really change their color tones. And so this green matches this green. This pink matches this pink. This blue matches this blue, right? So we are getting the same kind of color tones, designs. And then because we have used a collection of something, we've pulled together all of this collection of tags. What we're going to place on top of those tags is going to be black and white, right? So we just have black and white. We have some 3 clusters. We have our visual triangle, but they're black and white. The photos stand out because the colors in them are complementary to the tags, but they're not competing with the tags, right? So we have 2 photos here that have a lot of just dark tones, a little bit of white, a little bit of pink, a little bit of green, but definitely not really, really, really colorful, right? If we had 2 really colorful photos here, we'd have a mess. But because our photos don't have a ton of color in them, they work. They kind of make those tags go into the background. And again, here's my journaling, and I have incorporated it right into the layout and right onto this tag. So just a little bit of design information for you. I thought you might enjoy that, the idea of the same manufacturer, same design. And here's another thing, and this is really cool. This is something that I do in scrapbooking quite a lot. I am someone who watches DIY makeover shows. Now I've never watched Chip and Joanna Gaines. I don't know why, but Just not, I don't know. But I do tend to watch like interior design shows, HGTV, different shows throughout the year, throughout my life. I was the biggest Trading Spaces fan you'd ever want to know. But one of the things that a lot of interior designers will tell you is when you have a lot of one thing and you put it together, it suddenly looks intentional. So if you have a collection of things and you group them together inside your home or on your scrapbook page, it looks intentional. It looks like it's going to go. And that's what we did here. So something to think about. And this could be tags or it can also be frames, which we're going to see in a minute. I always enjoy being able to take design ideas from houses or from styles. Interior design will never steer you wrong as inspiration for a scrapbook layout. Just throwing that out there. So just as a general rule, that's just a nice design. And this is a great way to use up tags. You know, Maggie Holmes, love her to death, but she does a lot of tags in her collections. So being able to get all of these on one layout really was, really worked for stash busting tags. Okay, so the last little thing I want to show you with regard to tags is that a tag can be somewhere where we just put, again, when you look at this layout, that design principle that I told you, that when you have a lot of one thing, you don't want to, and we did this with stickers last month, you don't want to spread it out, right? You want to take those things and clump them together. So we have, these are rub-ons, but then if you look at the tag, we have hearts, right? So we can use a tag as a base for a collection of elements, for a collection of stickers. In this case, for a collection of hearts or rub-ons or whatever it is. But I don't want to digress into this idea, into this design idea, but it's really something to think about. This idea that when you want to use up a bunch of X, Y, or Z, a great way to do it and not make it look like a gigantic mess is to take a section and clump it all together. Okay, so that's tags. That's what I have for you for tags. Now let's look at frames. So when I was looking over my layouts and choosing some frames some frame layouts to share with you, I learned something about myself, and that can happen when you're teaching a class or when you're teaching anything like this. So Alice asked about what do you do when your photo doesn't fit your frame? And that's going to answer all of my layouts are pretty much going to answer that question because I never put frames around photos. Never. I went through, hold on, because I have them stacked up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I went through 7 albums looking for layouts where I actually framed a photo. Never. I never frame photos with frames. So let's show you what I do with them. In this layout, I used them over here, kind of like a tag, and added some stuff. Oop, I'm off camera. Hold on. Switch this down here. I tucked it in behind my photo and added things on top. And then down here, I probably cut this. In fact, if I kind of pull this back, you'll see. No, I didn't. I just tucked it underneath. I do not use frames to frame photos, ever. That was the important thing I learned as I was going through my pages. So I did grab 4 that had frames. So again, frame right here. And this is part of a frame. So I cut my frames up. I tend to cut frames up into little strips, and then I can tuck the little strips underneath. Or, like in this one, I took this frame and I filled it with embellishments and phrase stickers and popped up this little slow down. So yeah, never. I will say that you probably can, for other projects, I use 2 apps. I use the Project Life app, and I use Pick Frame to get photos into different sizes. And that could be one way that would work to kind of get your photos into a frame if that's what you really wanted. But I obviously don't do that. So I have this here. Now, this was as close as I got to me framing a photo. So I have this beautiful background. So this is Shimmer's paints, and then there's also, if you kind of look closely at this layout, this background has sequins kind of embedded in the mixed media. And then to keep the picture up away from the mixed media background, I took these frames and I used them. I put them at odd, wonky angles. I guarantee you I cut them into pieces because like this half is here and then this half is up here. But I cut them up and I used them to frame a photo, but not in the traditional sense. So that's my other kind of frame layout that I can show you today. And then the last one, very similar to the tag layout that I showed you, where we filled the background with tags. This background is filled with frames. Now, this could be harder if you are using a package of like pre-cut frames, like in the package that you get, the ephemera packs. But if you have those, they're all gonna come from the same manufacturer. They're all gonna have the same colors. So you can take those design ideas that I showed you with the tag page and just kind of reimagine those tags as frames and go ahead. Now, when I do a frame layout like this, I wanna fill them with something. Now, this layout is completely monochromatic and you wouldn't necessarily need to go that far. But you can see here we have some enamel dots, we've got some puffy stickers, some dies. We're kind of playing with the frames, right? So like down here, this flower kind of comes into the frame, but then goes out of the frame and hooks around. So you have lots of fun things you can do, but I always look at frames as something to fill, and it doesn't have to be a picture. You don't have to fill your frame with a picture. I apparently, after going through 7 of my scrapbook albums, I never fill a frame with a picture. I never do it. So there you go. But you can see here like this cluster, how I have some popped up and then the 2 underneath. So you can use frames as a textural element. If you have frames, these were die cut, but if you have frames that are, you know, chipboard, and like I said, they maybe take some of the colors that are on those frames and kind of use it to fill in the middle. There's lots of ways that you can definitely do that. Now I have a little tutorial for you. So one of the questions that I was asked, I'm just gonna kind of take these layouts and pop them around here. One of the questions I was asked in the circle group was, what do you do when you have a tag or journaling that you want to hide and it's in a pocket? What do you do with that when you go to put it into a scrapbook page? Is there something that you can do that will allow it to be used and interactive while still in a page protector? The answer to the question is yes. I'm going to pull this one out because this is the one that I used. So we're going to pretend for this exercise that this journaling is in a pocket. Right? I didn't want everyone to see it, so I just kind of going to pretend this journaling is in a pocket. And I'm going to show you how we can alter a page protector to go ahead and make this interactive. So we can pull it in and out, whatever it is. So I know if you have school kids and you keep report cards, right? Or you keep their little achievement things and you have them in a pocket on a page and you want to be able to create something that you can pull, you can have that page protector open. Now, it's easy enough to say, I'll just cut the page protector. And you're right, that's part of what we're gonna do. But that doesn't always work. And sometimes if you're not careful with how you've cut that page protector will keep tearing. Trust me, I've had it happen. Or it will get caught or stuck, or, you know, something like that. So I wasted a page protector. I have a little tutorial. We're going to move into that tutorial now, and I'm going to show you some tools and some great ways to kind of get those little pockets into your page protectors. So I did voice over this part, but I'm going to keep it in real time because I wanted to make sure that the audio would be okay and I wouldn't sound far away if I sat down and did this while trying to talk about it. So like I said, we're going to pretend that this layout has a pocket that we want to open up, and it's going to be at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a T-square ruler so that I get a straight line. For today's demonstration, I'm going to use a fine point Sharpie marker. That is just for you to be able to see where I'm drawing a line and what I'm doing. If I wanted to actually create a pocket in this page protector, I would use something that would not make a huge dark black line. I might not even use a pen. I might just use like a scoring tool, a bone folder, an embossing tool, just something to make a mark. You want to start by marking the top of your page pocket, right? You want to make sure you have that top of the pocket marked on your page protector. And then after you've marked where the page is, you want to go a little bit further in both directions. You don't want to have a pocket that's going to fit really snugly. You want it to have some room to play. Next, we're going to go ahead, take our X-Acto knife, and we're going to cut where we've made that mark. And again, we're going to cut where we've made that mark, but then we're going to go ever so slightly beyond that line. I am telling you, the best way to make a pocket is to make it a bit bigger than what you want. That will allow things to slip in and out easily. So now what I have here is I'm going to grab my Tim Holtz mixed media mat, and that's just for extra precaution. I'm going to use my fuse tool, and I'm going to slip that self-healing mat into my page protector again. This self-healing mat is from Creative Memories. It's probably 20 years old, if not older. So I'm not really worried about if my fuse tool is going to melt it or not. But what I am worried about is my brand new self-healing mat underneath my glass mat that I don't want to melt. So I turned my fuse tool on probably a half an hour before I ever started in my room. A fuse tool needs to get really, really hot. But what this is going to do, this is the trick to making it so that your page protector doesn't rip more than you want it to make sure that those borders we cut are going to stay together, and that over time you're not going to end up with something that is going to rip or tear and be a problem. So I'm taking the metal part of my fuse tool. I'm starting on one side of that cut mark and fusing it. Then I'm moving the tool to the other side of that black line on the page. What you're basically doing is you are melting the plastic right along that line that we have cut. That's going to seal that plastic. It's going to make it so that it doesn't tear. It's not going to rip. I mean, if you really pull it, it's going to rip, but it acts as a definite kind of seal. I'm also going to go ahead and grab the tool now, and I'm going to do the ends. So one end of that cut and another end of that cut. Self-healing mats like this are super easy to find. You can find them at Amazon, and they come in all different sizes. I have this older one from Creative Memories that just works really great for slipping inside a page protector. I used it when I cut the slit as well, and it works really nice for what we are doing today. But of course, you can find self-healing mats anywhere, and just know that you need a yucky one, right? You need a yucky one. You don't care if it kind of gets melted by the fuse tool and all of that. Now I'm going to go ahead, take that imaginary layout with the imaginary pocket and show you that it will work really well, and you'll be able to see it on the video because I did use that Sharpie marker. Thank you so much for coming to Scrap School today. If you have any questions about frames, tags, pockets, we will go ahead and have a little question and answer session now, and you can all kind of take a peek and ask all the questions you would like. Thank you so much for joining me. I have been loving these sessions so very much. Talk to you later. Bye.